Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of our NAWBO Member Love Live and the Texas Women Mean Business podcast. I'm super excited today to be joined by Cristal Glangchai. She is the founder of VentureLab, a new San Antonio NAWBO member, and I am thrilled for you guys to get to know her. So, Cristal, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Okay. So we're going to kick things off a little bit. I feel like your experience and your career, everything has just led you to being so enmeshed with what NAWBO's mission is and what we do as well. And we'll get into that, here in a little bit. But help me understand, some of your early interests, your formative experiences. Were you always, that stereotypical entrepreneur type, or did you kind of come to that later in life?
So I actually came to entrepreneurship later in life. I will say I always really talk to kids and people about the entrepreneurial spirit and entrepreneurial mindset. And I really think I got that from my dad. He actually grew up in Mexico, grew up on the streets, had holes in his shoes, but came to the US to make a better life for himself and went to college, met my mom. Ended up having 3 daughters. So he actually raised us like boys. And he had us, changing the oil in the car, changing the tires, doing electrical work in the house. So I was actually always very interested in engineering and building, but I think I kind of got that fearless mindset from him. So I think that's what really propelled me, is the idea that you can do anything, just work hard, follow your passion. And I think that's where I really kind of got started on my pathway to entrepreneurship. But before that, it was really, I would say, engineering. I was kind of an engineering nerd.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I can imagine that if you're growing up changing the oil in a car, engineering, STEM, that world, you weren't intimidated by, oh, I feel like I'm supposed to just sit over here and play with dolls. I can totally be, in there doing that kind of thing. Can you speak to, how that was being a woman in STEM, a girl in STEM, pretty early on?
So when I was younger, I guess I didn't really see myself as a girl. I was on the boys' soccer team. My dad had us wrestling.
You're
So
like, wait, what? I am? Oh, okay. All right.
I know, I saw myself as another kid. And then I think, a lot of studies show that once girls hit junior high, they start getting more self-conscious and dropping out of STEM. I feel like that didn't happen with me. But I did always notice, I'm like, where are the other girls in the room? There weren't girls in the engineering club. And when I went to college, I did my undergrad in mechanical engineering at UT. And I think there were maybe 5 girls out of 400 guys in the engineering school. And so I would look around the classroom and be like, wow, where are the rest of us?
Mm-hmm.
And I think even as I got into entrepreneurship, that was always one of my threads, is where are the women and how do we solve this problem?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I definitely can understand that. And I think there's a similar kind of line between, women in STEM, women in sports. Like there's that drop off in junior high of I'm a little self-conscious. I'm a little worried about what other people are going to think. And that, somebody in your corner telling you, why shouldn't you is pretty critical. So what were some early, maybe pivotal moments that shaped your career direction? Because you get to college, you're trying to decide, okay, what do I do? Where do I go? What helped you kind of take those next steps in your career?
Yeah, so I always knew I wanted to do engineering and started working at 3M, designing copper connectors for automated test equipment. Not very sexy or exciting. But around that time, 9/11 happened. And I thought to myself, how is what I'm doing actually helping people? How am I impacting them? And that really spurred me to go back to school and get my PhD in biomedical engineering. I really wanted to help people. I had a history of cancer in my family, so decided to, I guess, go into drug delivery and nanotechnology, and ended up developing size and shape specific nanoparticles that would preferentially target lung cancer tumor tissues. And I had a professor who I think just really mentored me, really believed in me, and said, you could actually commercialize this. You could actually start a company. And so I guess he is the one that really pushed me into that realm of commercialization and entrepreneurship.
Wow. Okay. So you get pushed kind of into this entrepreneurship world. I'm sure biomedical world is crazy competitive, crazy chances of actually making it to, a successful exit and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, at what point did VentureLab pop in your head? Was this something that you thought of and then waited 10 years to do? Did you go ahead and get going immediately on that?
No, so it was always kind of the problem I was trying to solve is how to get more girls into tech, girl CEOs, women in investing. And I had started down the trek of this nanotechnology company doing investor pitches in New York, in California, and looking around the room and not seeing the women, not seeing women CEOs, not seeing women investors. So in my mind, I was like, we need to start younger. So I got the opportunity to start the Entrepreneurship Center at Trinity University. And my goal was to get more girls into my classes and starting companies. And I got in there, and the girls, I mean, there was maybe one or two girls, and I asked them, hey, why are you taking entrepreneurship? And they're like, well, my dad said I had to. Or they would not want to raise their hands when all the boys were raising their hands.
Mm,
Or they'd come to me saying they were getting C's in classes and they wanted to drop out.
mm,
So I felt like at that time, college was already too late.
mm.
And at that time, my kids were, I had 3 4-year-olds and a 6-year-old at the time. And I started teaching them the same entrepreneurship concepts I was teaching my college kids. I just changed the language to make it more understandable.
Mhm.
And they started, well, the teachers came back and were like, wow, your girls are raising their hands. They're coming up with creative ideas. They're selling things in the playground, which isn't allowed. But I was like, yes, it's working. And then teachers started coming to me, and parents were like, how do we do this for our kids?
Mm.
So I think that's kind of how VentureLab got launched and started doing, camps for girls. And then, of course, parents wanted boys as well. So we opened it to co-ed. But that's kind of the genesis of VentureLab, is really solving that problem of realizing that I had to start earlier than college.
Mhm. Yeah. Now you're being very modest right now. Tell us a little bit about how much VentureLab has grown, because this is crazy to me that I think, so many of us have these ideas and we think maybe we could scale it someday, and VentureLab, you really have grown it to just crazy proportions. So tell us a little bit more about how big VentureLab is today.
Yes. Well, I'll say when we started in San Antonio, it was, one camp of 25 students back in, 2013.
Mm.
And now we're serving, I think, over 1.2 million students in all 50 states and 150 countries. So it has grown a lot. And I think that was also a very interesting learning curve about how to start from like one little camp to kind of scaling nationally and globally.
Yeah. All 50 states, global presence, and started in San Antonio.
Yes.
That is amazing. Like I feel like more people in San Antonio need to know that you've started this right here in our own backyard. So what was it about San Antonio? Was it the Trinity connection? Was it, your relationships here? Was there anything special about the community in San Antonio that made it the right place to start?
Yeah, so I actually am from Austin, and I came down to Trinity to start their entrepreneurship center. And San Antonio just has, I don't know, it is the right place to start things in general, but I just found that the kids there were really asking for something like this. They needed that exposure. They needed to see these role models.
Mm,
And I would say the entrepreneurial community was so welcoming. I felt like people really wanted to collaborate and build something big for San Antonio, where San Antonio could really stand out.
yeah.
And I wish I had a better word for it, but I just feel like San Antonio was and still is the right place for this.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you have been able to reach that part of our community that is, to your point, hungry for this. I mean, I taught adjunct at Palo Alto College for a few years. And I was just, if those of you have not been on Palo Alto's campus, it's on the south side. It has a lot of adult learners, a lot of military, veterans coming in and doing education later in life, has a lot of kids that are first generation, college. And I was just completely blown away by how hungry these kids were. I mean, just
Yeah.
sitting up in class, paying attention. What do I do? How do I make sure I'm getting the best possible, not just grade, but like experience? And they just seem to really have a heart for, I have this burning desire within myself to do better for my family and for future generations. So it sounds like you've been able to find and tap into that in San Antonio as well.
And I think it's even just providing more opportunities because there are so many people asking for different opportunities, which we may not have yet. And so I think that was a really important thing is to be able to spark this interest in entrepreneurship because a lot of them may not know what that is, or even, entrepreneurship is kind of a scary word. What does that mean? Am I an entrepreneur?
Right.
And so just really trying to educate them that, I think everyone is entrepreneurial in their own way. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to start a business. That's a nice outcome, but even
Mhm.
taking an idea and turning it into some sort of action or product or service and potentially a company, but showing these kids that they could actually do that and that they could, speak persuasively, have people listen, and actually accomplish their dreams.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you say to other women? I feel like, we hear a lot from, fellow women out in the business world of, I feel really passionate about my work and someday I want to turn it into a nonprofit, or I want to give back, or I want to do something. What would you say to them about learning how to balance, your professional aspirations and goals and chasing those, but at the same time, building in this nonprofit or philanthropic efforts into your career path as well?
Oh gosh, that's whenever someone asks the balancing question, that's always hard, and including balancing family life too. Oh my goodness.
Right. Yeah.
Um, well, so I was thinking about when I was working at 3M full time, I was already planning to go back to grad school. And so I was taking evening classes at night to kind of prepare for going into biomedical engineering. And I think that's even what I do now. So I would say, even if you do have a full time job that you're working on, just continue to pursue those passions in the evenings whenever you have spare time. I mean, I
Yeah.
know right now I'm spinning off a subsidiary from VentureLab called VentureLab Ignite, and I'm spending I don't know how many evenings up until, 1, 4 in the morning working on it. But
Yeah.
I would just say to continue pursuing that in, after hours, reaching out to people, joining groups, doing everything you can to kind of learn about what you're trying to do, talk to other people who started nonprofits. But I think it's really about kind of executing on your idea and making sure you don't give that up.
Yeah. And I love what you said too about just finding it doesn't have to be either or. It can be tiny little steps at a time until you build to the point where it's really truly, coming to fruition. Any forward motion is still progress, right? Like you have I should be careful trying to talk to an engineer about actual like physics terms, but
Yeah.
I feel like we give ourselves such a hard time sometimes of, well, if I'm going to do it, I have to have everything already done before I even
Yeah.
tell anybody about it. And it's okay to just be taking some of those baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. It's just the continuation of pursuing that dream that gets you there, whether it's in 10 minutes or 10 years.
And I like what you said because it kind of goes to that women's sense of imposter syndrome or, perfectionism, fear of failure, which I experience that too. But it's like you said, I'll break it into smaller chunks and it just needs to be I call it a minimum lovable product. It doesn't have to be like that perfect product, but just enough and working on it little steps at a time. I'm an achiever, so I need a checklist. So I'm always checking off. I'll do little tasks at a time and check them off. And then you can kind of feel accomplished.
Yeah, yeah, the classic, I already did it, but I'm gonna go ahead and write it down to be able to have the satisfaction of, marking it off. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So, you have just recently joined NAWBO, which is incredibly exciting. I feel like you have so much to give our members and contribute to our organization. But what brought NAWBO about for you? What was it that made you say, "Okay, now is the right time to go ahead and join?"
So I had been involved a little bit probably back in when I first moved to San Antonio and started the Entrepreneurship Center at Trinity. I think it was maybe 2010.
Mhm.
But what got me involved again was Niti Vani. So I had been working with her in her bio incubator and had done a workshop where I was teaching kids how to be a bio imprinting entrepreneur.
Mhm.
So that was really fun. And then she told me about NAWBO and what she was doing and the women and the high school mentorship program. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I need to join. And I'm very glad I did.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out to Niti, who is our foundation president elect, and just recently got San Antonio Biz Journal 40 under 40. So
Oh
she's
my
having
God.
she's having a banner year this year.
Yay.
So very excited for her. Amazing. Okay, so really, you've mentioned, high school mentorship program being one of the main things that you're excited to get involved in. For those of you who may be, listening, watching, and aren't aware, we talk about it a lot, but just in case, our high school mentorship program is a program run by our foundation, or at least fundraised for by our foundation, and then all volunteer led. We have kids, or girls specifically, in high schools all over the city who are working on their business plans and pulling together really, really robust programming with their actual business plans that come out of that process, where they get to earn a scholarship potentially as part of that process. So what was it about the high school mentorship program? I mean, you've grown VentureLab to way above and beyond even what, our high school mentorship program currently is. But what was it about it that maybe it was different or unique, or that you saw that you felt, okay, this is a good thing to be a part of?
Yeah, so I mean, with VentureLab, we've gone very broad. So we're developing the curriculum, programming, and mostly training educators to teach entrepreneurship. So
Mm,
for me, my passion had always been really working hands-on and with girls in particular. Like, I love that we're doing co-ed. It should be for everyone, but my passion is growing more girl leaders.
yeah.
So Niti brought me to, I guess, one of the sessions with the girls, and I was able to see their confidence. And, they shake your hand, they look you in the eye, they're able to give you their elevator pitch. I was just so impressed with their confidence, with their ability to just so concisely talk about what they were doing and be able to answer really deep questions. And then
Mhm.
just seeing in the women in the room, the mentors, how, genuinely they really care for these students and want to see them succeed. So it was kind of this whole atmosphere that I was just like, we need more of this. And I really think that these girls are going to go on to do great things because they've already developed that confidence in themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, they are really, really encouraging and inspiring to see, when you get that opportunity to interact with them. I feel like it gives you so much hope for the future, that these girls are fearless and stepping into, their plans for their future, be it the actual business plans that they're coming up with or something entirely different. It really is the skills that they're learning that are going to take them, wherever they want to go. So what do you think, to someone who might be considering being a mentor? Um, I know a lot of times, we're all evaluating our time, we're all evaluating how much we can give. What would you say to somebody who is looking to be a mentor to one of those high school girls and give of themselves in that capacity?
Yeah, I think it's very hard to even quantify the feeling that you get of, when you first meet a girl. And there was one girl in particular that I worked with VentureLab, who just was extremely shy, didn't have much confidence in herself, didn't want to speak in public. And to be able to encourage her and take her through the process, from idea to company idea, and then have her, I don't know how to describe it, but just really go out there and shine.
Hmm.
And you see her out there confidently talking to people. You see her applying to colleges that maybe she didn't think about applying to, or thinking about career pathways that she never even thought of before, but was like, I can do it now because I know that I have someone supporting me and I've seen that I can do this myself. So they have that self-efficacy. And
Hmm.
so for me and for any mentor, just I think watching that transformation of a girl or a student is just so heartwarming, and it makes you so happy. And I know I've even had students from the past that I taught at Trinity that will find me on LinkedIn, or I'll run into them and they'll say, wow, taking that entrepreneurship class or going through the entrepreneurship program completely changed my life. And I
Hmm.
think I don't know, it just gives you such warm, fuzzy feelings and makes you feel so happy that you had a hand in really developing another person.
Hmm. Yeah. I was reading an article the other day that talked about how, for girls in particular, they need a third party person to be looking out for them. It can't just be mom and dad. It can't just be friends, because friends are already in the thick of it with you. They're not necessarily looking back with,
Yeah.
wisdom of years. And so the article talks specifically about maybe a female aunt or somebody along those lines. But I almost look at our high school mentors that are willing to do this as maybe being that person for these girls, that third party. I'm not related to you. Because I think a lot of times, like my daughter says, well, of course you believe in me, mom, you're my mom. Like I get, you have to say that I'm smart and amazing and blah, 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 blah. So when there is that third party person to step in, I think it's just a whole other level for a girl to feel, okay, maybe what they're saying about me is true. My gosh, like I could do this. Anyways, long way to get around to asking you, was there anybody, I know you mentioned your dad was really influential, college professors, was there anybody for you that was kind of that third party, maybe female advocate for you?
Yes. So when I was in grad school and was trying to start my company, I found a mentor, Becky Taylor. She had been a successful tech entrepreneur in Austin. Just amazing. She kind of took me under her wing, told me, well, gave me encouragement, but then she also introduced me to, I want to say like an accelerator called Springboard. And it's for women who are starting, I guess, high growth, high tech companies. So they provide mentorship, they help you with your pitch. But I found that through her and through Springboard, I had this whole group of women who were all supportive, all behind me. I could call them up and ask questions about, hey, I'm going to go pitch here. What do you recommend? Or do you know this person? Becky to me was also one of those transformational people that I never would have started or gone down the path of entrepreneurship and started my company early on had it not been for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Becky Taylor just sounds like a very nice person. That just sounds like
She's
good.
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to send this to her.
Absolutely. Shout out to you, Becky. Thank you for giving Cristal that encouragement she needed. And to your point, I love that you are talking about tangible things they were willing to do for you too. Not just, rah cheerleading in your corner, but I have the knowledge, I have the connections, I have the ability to open these doors for you, and I'm willing to do it because I see something in you. But we, as women need that level of support too. It's not just, oh, I believe in you and then go figure it out by yourself. Like, no. I will show you the roadmap. I will get you those introductions you need. So it sounds like you were, very fortunate to have that support as well.
Yes. And I think that's something that I know I'm new to NAWBO, but I feel like that's something that the women do as well. And I saw that in the high school mentorship program of people being like, oh, well, you should talk to so-and-so, or let me help you with this. And it was just really inspiring to see.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm so glad that came through, because I do think, even for our members that aren't involved in the high school mentorship program, if they're just, heads down focused on growing their businesses, it is that, who do you need? How can I help? What's going on? What's the issue that you're trying to solve? And do we have a member that can help you solve that or get you connected with the right person? So I love that so much. So final thoughts, I would love for you to kind of share with me how, if people are curious, if they've got, young girls or kids at home, boy or girl, if they're curious about VentureLab, what's the best way to get involved or get in touch and find out how they can possibly get their kids signed up?
Yeah, well, for VentureLab, I would just go to www.venturelab.org. And so that's more programming for schools and training educators. Then launching my new subsidiary, VentureLabIgnite.org. And that's going to be actually kind of pitch competitions and challenges for high school kids in particular. And then you can probably find me on LinkedIn. And it's /LC Glangchai, GLANGCHAI.
Fabulous. Very cool. Any, big plans for this year? Anything we should be on the lookout for that you're excited to share?
I'm excited to get involved with the high school mentorship program. And I'm excited to be launching these challenges and competitions for high school students.
Yeah, no, I have no doubt it's going to be a huge success. And shout out to Trinity as well for bringing you to San Antonio and having your presence here as well. Amazing. Well, if you are listening and you want to learn more about Cristal and her work, definitely check that out. We will put more information in the comments and or show notes, depending on where you are catching us. And then if you're curious about NAWBO, maybe becoming a mentor for our high school mentorship program or attending our gala and getting to see some of our girls that are our scholarship winners, that's coming right up March 26th, I believe. So we'd love to see you there. If you are watching, you can scan that QR code right above us to find out more, or go to nowbosa.org. And we hope to see you there. I think you can see by the caliber of person that Cristal is, NAWBO is an organization that you want to be a part of. So thank you so much for joining us today, Cristal. This was truly a pleasure.